Story 1. I think Diddy either ends up like Jeffrey Epstein or he actually takes himself out for real. I know the guy is rich and has crazy connections, but the allegations and whatever evidence we've seen so far are just overwhelmingly against him. Either he spends the rest of his life in prison or he goes from prison to courtrooms for the next 2 decades. I don't think he has a chance to go back to being a free man, and whatever wealth he has will be drained from him. I just don't think the guy will be able to handle that. Or, some rich people could just have him disappear. Story 2. I am going to get another cat. I already have 2, but a third would be lovely. Also, I think an odd number of pets is weird, so I'll be getting another to make it even. And we will sit together and watch the world fall into oblivion, but I will be fine because of the 4 cats. Story 3. Syria is going to become Afghanistan Mark II and cause a whole lot of bother that you never saw from Assad. People will finally realize that these fractious Arab states often need nasty secular strongman dictators like Hussein and Assad because the alternative is 100 times worse. Trump is not going to be able to end the Ukraine war like he claims he'll be able to because Putin and Kim are not afraid of him and have huddled together. Musk will also treat the federal government as if it were another of his private businesses. That is to say, it will be a hack-and-slash disaster, and the savings will not be felt by regular Americans. Jimmy Carter will finally pass away. Frankly, I am staggered that he is still alive now considering his frailty and the passing of his beloved Rosalind. I was half expecting him to follow her not long after. Luigi Mangione will face trial in Pennsylvania for the other charges, and if convicted, will get a bajillion years in prison. He will also later stand trial, possibly not in 2025, in New York for the Brian Thompson murder, and if convicted there, will get life without parole consecutive to his sentence in Pennsylvania. We'll never see him again. Diddy will be the next R. Kelly, falling from grace like a rock, getting decades in prison and numerous future trials on new charges. Various developed economies collapsing and the housing market going pop like in 2008. There are already early warning signs of a housing crash in the United Kingdom. That new virus in the Congo is going to escape and mess us all up. Story 4. It will look insane but mostly just be a light show of stupidity. Trump won't be deporting millions of Mexicans just like he didn't build that wall. Real administration takes time and money, and Trump has no patience and no intention of taxing the rich to pay for his ideas. Story 5. 1. Finally achieving my ideal body weight. 2. Divorce. 3. Moving to a new city. 4. New job. 5. Visiting my family. 6. Making trading my second income source. 7. Dating around and building a great social circle. All of this is happening in 2025. They are already in motion. Story 6. Regarding United States politics, I'm going against the grain and going to say it's not going to be as bad as many assume. Trump is terrible, but he's also incompetent and easily distracted. He'll get angry at the people trying to push all the draconian nonsense, and I think there's still enough safeguards and institutions in place to keep the real bad things from happening. I'm referring to the jailing of political opponents and journalists, as well as the deportation of people here legally. Now that's just for 2025. I don't think Trump will last long, to be honest. He doesn't look healthy, and I expect him to die soon. He could also be assassinated since it's almost happened a couple of times already. The years 2026 and 2027 are when things could get really dark in America. Story 7. Inflation is up. Crime is up. Middle-class taxes are up. Wages are stagnant. Rich people receive tax cuts. Groceries are too expensive. Houses are too expensive. New cars are too expensive. No medical care unless you are rich. Martial law is imposed from time to time without clear reasons. We waste money on the border wall. Mortality rate skyrockets. Story 8. The bad. 1. Conflict in the Middle East, Syria, Iran, Lebanon, and Israel. And in the Pacific, Russia, China, North Korea, will increase, mostly small wars in the Middle East and trade conflict in the Pacific. The effects of climate change will continue to negatively affect vulnerable areas. Ukraine will likely lose land in a peace treaty to end the war. U.S. workers in both the private sector and the government will lose overall due to deregulation, but at least gas will be a little cheaper even if you don't have a job. The new US presidential administration does not put any regulation on artificial intelligence, leading to more mass layoffs in knowledge-based work. The good. 1. Safer and more effective treatments for chronic and serious diseases such as many cancers, Alzheimer's, heart disease, and diabetes will become more available as multiple successful clinical trials wrap up. Artificial intelligence and augmented reality technology will be able to help scientists, engineers, and doctors in their work. One of the few good things about artificial intelligence. The conflict in Europe will cool off significantly, although it will be at a cost. I strongly believe a nuclear war or major world-scale war is not going to happen. As always, things will trend towards getting better, even if there are some roadblocks that suggest otherwise. Although I have a lot of disagreements with the guy, I have a good feeling Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to make food in the US better. Got a good feeling 2025 is going to be a better year, at least for me. Neutral, mostly sports. 1. The Philadelphia Eagles or Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. Either the Philadelphia Phillies, Houston Astros, or the Los Angeles Dodgers are going to win the World Series next October. Social conflicts in the US will continue to be an issue, but it will be the same as usual since 2020. Story 9. We all continue to gripe and complain on the internet about how terrible the world is, how everyone but those in your specific political or belief ideology is wrong and dumb, same as every year, and yet we will get through the next year same as always. Story 10. People on Reddit will still be asking dumb questions like, if you won $1 million, or if the world is going to end in 10 minutes, what are you going to eat? Story 11. People are going to doom scroll harder and think things are getting worse, when in reality only some things will get worse while others will get better, just like every year. Hopefully, more people take a step back and take time to turn off their screens and relax a little. Story 12. Prices will come down. Trump also told rally-goers during a speech in August. You just watch. They'll come down, and they'll come down fast, not only with insurance, with everything. Story 13. I predict people will be angry about something or many things. The government will likely ignore what people are angry about and convince them to be angry about something else and at each other. We will all post online about how much better it could be, and there will be a number of social justice trends that we join for a few months at a time. Story 14. People are so melodramatic. The reality is that it will probably be another overly mediocre year with some moderate changes in the United States due to a presidential change. But that is nothing special. Story 15. In the United States, it's going to be one of the worst years ever, in unpredictable but certainly unpleasant ways. It will be worse than 2020. Probably won't be as bad as 536, but it's going to be terrible. If even 20% of that Project 2025 plan gets through, we'll see hundreds of thousands of deaths in the next 5 years due to governmental dysfunction alone. We will also realize that December 4th didn't actually cause the ruling elite to sting themselves to death, and yet we'll be under a new presidency and Congress that will be willing to do whatever the ruling elite wants. Things might get better. December 4th itself might not have been great. Historians will figure that out. But the shared realization that we all hate the same people might replace the stupid culture wars with attention to the global class war, and so there may be a long-term win in it, but they're probably going to get a lot worse before they do. Story 16. I am going to get a good promotion at work and be able to afford a newer truck. The alien invasion will make things difficult, but not terrible. There is going to be a large drawn-out family fight when mom and dad pass. I will find a woman who wants to be with me for the long run. Story 17. The new administration's approach to mass deportation will apprehend countless innocent, legal citizens indefinitely with no meaningful legal recourse. Trump's Department of Justice will be okay with this as long as law enforcement officers are ideologically aligned with Make America Great Again. Americans who are currently affluent enough not to fear the police will realize they no longer have any reasonable expectation of having constitutional rights. Story 18. Another health CEO and executive's company murders. A mass protest against Trump from one of his decisions. A first sign of a crack in the relationship between Musk and Trump. Trump will pull out some schemes that will shock both Ukraine and Russia. Democrat blame games on what made them lose the election will officially start. Story 19. Insurance bubble burst demands government intervention. Home insurance companies are pulling out completely from climate-threatened areas, leaving homeownership unattainable. Either pay an astronomical rate only the wealthy can afford, get a state-run policy that's likely bankrupted by the first big calamity, or fully own property and risk being uninsured. Corporations are buying up property outright using the latter option and just writing off anything destroyed by natural disasters. Car insurance. Every car is now more of a moving computer than a car, with body molds too complex, making every fender bender nearly a total loss. Unsustainable. Health insurance, Story 20. Either I have a completely life-changing experience while studying abroad in Austria, and it's my favorite trip ever, or it has to get canceled because of a large-scale European war. It's either going to be great or terrible. There's no in-between. Story 21. Movies, shows, and games-wise, it's going to be a really good year. Hopefully, I can start eating again. For a couple of weeks, I haven't been eating for some reason, which sucks because I work out a lot. I am literally slender, mum. Story 22. The United States will have a major crisis that will be handled poorly by an incompetent new administration. Amateur leadership will place the nation in a precarious situation with no foreseeable positive outcome. The stock market will slide, consumer confidence will collapse, and the United States will be thrown into a recession that will last for the next decade. Story 23. The Trump administration is going to tell you they are taking fluoride out of the water, but what they will not tell you is that they will put things into it that will make you sick. Probably to make insurance companies rake in the dough when they deny the claims of dying peasants. Story 24. My wife and I are going to have as much fun as possible. Saving like we regularly do, of course, but just focused on doing what we want to do and going the extra mile because the future is uncertain. If we are going down with the ship, I want to check things off a list first. Story 25. Treatment approval rates will rise dramatically, but the Affordable Care Act will be repealed, enabling insurance companies to deny coverage years after a claim has been approved and care provided, leaving patients on the hook for payments just like the good old days. Story 26. Internal turmoil in America, probably a crash in the economy and a social crisis never seen before. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization will be dismantled, and the Western world will start to be divided. I don't care at this point. All I'm worried about is having good grades and working on myself. Story 27. Probably going to be the best year ever. Do you all ever look at the physical, social, economic, and political climate and think, wow, we have a bright, bright future ahead of us? Story 28. The machines will most likely finally rise up and enslave us. Aliens will invade and enslave us. World War III, the nuclear edition. Use of proper spelling, actual words, and grammar will continue to decrease, making my brain hurt trying to read things. I finally submit to full-blown shouting at clouds just after my 46th birthday. Story 29. I think 2025, and to a lesser extent 2026, will be one of the most hazardous years for a very long time. I feel that if we make it through 2025 largely intact, China hasn't invaded Taiwan and disrupted the international electronics supply. Russia has neither expanded much further west nor escalated to the use of nuclear weaponry. And Trump has neither been able to enact his more damaging proposals nor mishandled another global emergency. Then I think we'll be lucky, and the worst of the dangerous times will have passed. Saying that, I believe everyone should, regardless, stockpile a supply of food and water to last at least several weeks, and obtain a radio or other means to listen to news broadcasts, equipment that would be useful when walking over distance, several different means of starting a fire, and equipment that would be useful when sleeping outdoors. Story 30. There will come a pivotal moment in 2025 when we wake up and realize our phones have learned more about us than our friends ever could. We'll spend half the day not talking to humans but arguing about which trusty device should decide our dinner for us. Welcome to the future, where appliances have opinions and artificial intelligence has mastered passive-aggressive text replies. Story 31. There will be an accident with self-driving vehicles that will end all hope of permanently having self-driving vehicles on the streets. I'm thinking of something like causing a school bus crash or the death of someone important. Story 32. Copycat crimes of varying degrees of seriousness are following in the footsteps of Luigi Mangione. People are seeing the internet fame he is gaining and foolishly believe they can plan a better scheme to retaliate against the greed of corporate America and be hailed as heroes as well. Story 33. 1080p high-speed over the Pacific and Atlantic unidentified aerial phenomena. No, not drones, spherical-shaped unidentified aerial phenomena will be leaked. Maybe 2026 though, who knows when they'll post them. They are fast and there are many. Story 34. A prediction for the average Reddit user. In 2025, you will be tired all day, but once it is finally time to go to bed, you will be wide awake, scrolling through Reddit. You will be downvoted for no obvious reason. You will still be broke, but you will continue to think about ways that you can earn, save, or invest money. Disturbing content you never asked for is always around the corner. Strangers will argue, even if you have all facts and sources provided for them. You'll read about another doomsday scenario twice a month or so. You'll find out someone is lying on the internet. Big news about an influencer you never heard about.